If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Hello and welcome to the HHH Racing Podcast special edition of Picks and Ponies as we are here to preview race 12 on Saturday at Gulfstream Park. It is the $1 million Pegasus Turf Invitational. I'm here with my wonderful co-hosts Pete Visco and Paul Hallen. Guys, huge day of racing Saturday at Gulfstream, Pete, and we're going to start with the Pegasus Turf, a very interesting race.
Yeah, it's deep. I mean, the theme of the whole card is basically the depth of fields, and there's quality, maybe not like superstar quality, but, you know, hard to handicap, should be good betting races, big fields. You can't ask for much more on a big day.
Paul, we're going to go through the field one by one, and then we're going to give a brief opinion of our race, including the race flow dynamic, how we see the race panning out. I will say it's very nice to see a Euro in this race. Warm Heart, who we're going to talk about, a bit of a surprise entry, I think, for most people, for Aiden O'Brien, off a huge effort in the Breeders' Cup, will be the favorite in this race, most likely.
Oh, I think without question. You know, despite Philly against the boys, which is, as we know, much more common on the other side of the pond than it is over here. But, yeah, we think this O'Brien guy knows what he's doing, don't we?
He's pretty good. We have a lot of shows very quickly. Folks, make sure you subscribe to the channel, of course. Please follow us on X right there at H Kravitz. You can also email, look at the bottom of the screen, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. We've got a show. We're filming this Wednesday night. We have a live show Thursday night with Jason Blewett of West Point Thoroughbreds to talk about integration from this race and a few other West Point runners. It's going to be a great preview of the late pick 5. We also have an after party show right after the Eclipse Awards, so check that out on this channel if you happen to see this video before Thursday night. And then we are live 4:30 Eastern Saturday for the last 2 races on Pegasus Day at Gulfstream. Check it out right here, the HHH Racing Podcast here on YouTube. All right, guys, let's get right to the Pegasus field. We're going to go through each horse very quickly and then give our opinions on who is going to win. That's why, guys, the banner is not going to be scrolling for our picks until the end. Let's go ahead and bring that up right now. It's a field of 14. There are 2 also eligibles. I'll bring it up right here on the screen. Everyone can see there. You got a Tone, Jerry the Nipper, Integration, I'm Very Busy, Webslinger, King Max, Odd Hamo, Masterpiece, Warm Heart, Cheryl's Spite, Main Event, Catnip, and on the A list, Grand Sonata and Anglophile. We're going to go through these horses quickly. Let me make this a little bigger so everyone can see. Number 1 is a Tone. He won this race actually last year, as you can see a little bit down the screen, at 7-2 or 3.8 to 1. He's not nearly the same as he was last year. I don't like him at all in this race. Oisin Murphy, who's an excellent rider, originally from Europe, he's riding now at Gulfstream, takes them out. I think the 1 1/8 might be better for a Tone. He's just not the same. I'm completely against the Tone on Saturday. Pete.
Yeah, Jerry the Nipper, number 2. You can see it's from the good connections. Rapoli, Pletcher, Jose Ortiz actually ran, if you watch the replay of the last one, ran a pretty bang up race, got a sort of a lifetime buyer top. But if you watch it, just sort of, I couldn't tell if it steadied, clicked heels. It could have been a little bit of anything, dropped back for a bit, then came on against a couple of other horses in this race. So really in pretty good form. Really better when really close to the lead. So I think from the 2 hole is going to have to break well, be close, is working well, had a nice work 2 back, adds the blinkers, which for Pletcher isn't super common in a graded stakes level. First time blinkers, I think he's like 2 for 18. So it's not something he does often. So that's a little bit, you don't know if that's concerning or what it is. It's just odd. And then I had one quick stat. Pletcher, 4 for 37 at these sort of longer 9 furlong and up graded stakes turf races in the last year and a half. So just not necessarily his forte, but the horse is 20 to 1.
Yep, and it's Rapoli's stable. You never want to ignore the Rapoli stable, the orange and blue of a Mike Rapoli. Number 3, Integration, Paul. This is a fascinating horse.
Yeah, Howard, fascinating, intriguing. Could be anything. For all those people who have 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds who haven't run yet, this horse didn't run till August 12th of his 3-year-old year last year, and has been visually impressive in all 3 races. Shug McGahee is not the type to rush horses, but puts him in the Virginia Derby off a maiden win, and the horse wins impressively from the back of the pack. Comes back and wins a decent stakes at Aqueduct, the Grade 2 Hill Prince. Buyers have improved. A big jump from race 1 to 2. A slight jump from race 2 to 3, up to a 98. Kendrick Hamouche gets taken off in favor of Tyler Gaffleone. Tyler did ride him in the maiden race, but Kendrick rode in the 2 stakes races. It will be interesting to talk to Jason about this horse as well. But this is a tough call, this horse, because even coming off the 2 stakes wins, you could argue that going against the likes of Warm Heart is a step up. But certainly, if you watch the replays, if you saw the races, there is not a flaw in this horse's resume thus far.
No, and as Paul mentioned, I mentioned Jason Blewett from West Point Thoroughbreds, who knows this horse very well, is obviously part of the connections, will be with us live Thursday night for our Thursday night show at 6 p.m. Eastern before the Eclipse Awards. Check that out. Number 4, I'm very busy for Chad, who it needs to be mentioned. You can see it on the screen there if you look carefully. 0 for 26 at Gulfstream. However, many of those are maidens, and it's just not his top horses. I think he could have a very good day Saturday. Irad and Chad on 15 to 1. He only has 7 lifetime starts. He looks way too slow for me in this field. Lost to Integration by 5 lengths last time in the Hill Prince. This is an improving horse. Maybe could hit the board at a big price in this race. Number 5, a horse I know, Pete, that you followed quite a bit, that you enjoyed betting because of your son. One of the reasons, Webslinger.
Yeah. Where my son, he most of his life he's had a Spider-Man bedroom. We love Spider-Man in this house, so I was glad I got to land on Webslinger here. This one now we're going from had to Castellano for the most of the time, then jumped with Gaffleone in the last one in the Hollywood Derby. Now has Edgar Zayas up. At Gulfstream, has 2 for 2 in the top 2, so at least is familiar with the track. 3 for 3 in the money at the distance. The biggest problem with Webslinger, and we all know it, he generally just leaves himself a lot to do. He has no early speed. He's always stuck in the back. He closes like a freight train, but really has a hard time winning. And I mean, in the end, that's always the knock on him. Now, this is his first race at 4. I mean, his last race wasn't that long ago, but still, it's his first race at 4. You hope maybe he can progress a little bit more and start winning these races instead of just hitting the board. But if you put money on him, you're getting a run. So I'm hoping, just from a fan perspective, and you get a nice price if you like him.
Yeah, 15 to 1.
Yeah, 15. But again, he's hard to win. But you're talking about underneath in a race that's going to be wide open potentially. One negative. Mark Casse, 2 for 68 in a funny one with males in Grade 1 races on turf. So for some reason, not so good with the male turf horses. Not sure why, but
Paul, 3 words: reverse key, trifecta.
Yeah. Although
in this race, right?
I suspect, Howard, he won't be 15 to 1 in the second and third slots.
No, he will not be.
For all the reasons Pete just detailed.
King Max, Paul, is a horse that our good friend Matt Bernier loved last time. How do I know? Because I was texting him. A brutal beat for him last time, but ran a huge race for David Egan. Has got some Euro form. This is a very interesting horse in this race, 12-1 morning line.
Yeah, I had a few positives, and second off the layoff, so figures to progress off that last start. Didn't Matt need that horse for like the pick 4 or pick 5 or something? Howard said, big fight, yeah. And Egan's
Larry
good.
Colmus needed that horse also, by the way. On air, they were both upset about that finish, obviously.
Yeah, well, they're not going to get quite 17-1 Saturday, but you might get double digits. And I think the second off the layoff is a positive. I think Egan's a positive. I think the fact that Egan rode him in the last race is a positive.
Yep.
I don't have any argument with anyone who wants to bet this horse to run big second time in a row. I really don't. They really had the one bad race up at Woodbine on the synthetic, but other than that, the 3 turf starts over here, he's ahead from being perfect.
Can I ask a question real quick before we move to the next one? Do you guys think that horse hung, or was it just the long layoff and maybe needed a race to get in him? Because watching the replay again, he did sort of hang, but
yeah, I
it
think
could have
he
been
hung
two.
just
He
a
hung,
little
but
bit.
it was also off of a 5-month layoff, so maybe he just wasn't as sharp and he got bumped around a little bit. But what do you think, Howard?
One of the reasons he hung, if you believe he hung, he was on the wrong lead the entire last 16th of a mile. That did not help his cause. He just didn't switch leads, and that really hurt him. I think he may have needed one a little bit. I don't know if he quite classes up, but again, be another great horse to use underneath. Guys, let's go ahead and move along here. I've got the number 7, Adhamo, another one for Chad. I think this one is better going longer, guys. You see most of his races are long. A mile and 1/8 might be a little bit too sharp for him. It is, again, Chad and Flavian, guys, on a bit of a price. Adhamo does need, at least in my opinion, guys, the pace to heat up, and I don't think it's going to happen here. I'm personally against Adhamo in this race on Saturday. Let's go.
8 straight grade 1s, though. That's kind of cool. 8 straight grade 1
sure.
races for that horse.
Another cool masterpiece I want to mention real quick, Pete, for people that are noticing. It says Sidney Dutro as the trainer. It's because Rick Dutro cannot run in Florida, I believe. Don't quote me on
not
that.
quite.
He's not licensed.
He hadn't done
right?
the paper. Yeah, he wasn't going to get the paperwork done in time.
Okay.
So just to be simple, Florida said they would have no problem licensing him, but to avoid any snafus, he just transferred to his brother, who's his assistant.
Thanks for the clarification. Masterpiece, Pete, real quick, your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, this is another one where the distance might be is generally his friend. You see there on the screen, he's 3 for 4 wins at the distance, but he's 0 for 3 in the top 2 at Gulfstream, which again, we're talking about generally a horse that likes to come from the back. He has been maybe, he's every once in a while he tries to be a little more tactical, maybe gets a little too close to a pace and fades. He's a tough one because another one who runs his race, but he always seems to be more of an underneath horse to me, especially against some of the better horses. But again, in a race like this, if you can get a horse at 8, 10, 12 to 1, potentially you hits the board, and especially if you can beat a favorite on top, then you're talking about nice horse for a try, super, anything like that.
This is the feature horse in this race, Paul, and as I bring this on screen, one of the stars of the day. Warm Heart for Aidan O'Brien, Ryan Moore flying in for this day at Gulfstream. But frankly, Ryan Moore has struggled in general in races in the United States, especially in New York, but this is not New York. Warm Heart, a filly in here, very, very talented, very formidable, Paul.
Yeah, and I think you could limit that Ryan Moore to Saratoga, and I've been tough on him at Saratoga, but he delivered some phenomenal rides in California that we had a chance to see up close, including he did everything except win on this. This took an unbelievable ride from Frankie Dettori on Inspiral to beat him in the beat her in the Breeders' Cup. It's one of those things. She's going to be the favorite. She's running against the boys. She's shipping. She goes from Great Britain to France to California to Hong Kong back to Florida. So, there's all sorts of arguments you can make against this horse as, I think, a prohibitive favorite. The morning line, all those prices, Howard, you kept referring to on horses who look like they might be higher than you would expect, Chad Brown and Pratt, Chad Brown and Irad, I think is a reflection of what they expect this horse to take for money. And you know what? Maybe you're supposed to try to beat her, but I'll be trying to beat favorites in other races.
Yep, I understand that.
Can I give you one quick poo-poo stat on Warm Heart if you want to go against the favorite?
Go ahead.
Yeah, Aidan O'Brien, 1 for 23, 4-year-olds and up in graded stakes on turf here in the U.S. So maybe
Wow.
he's better with the 2s and 3s, but maybe not when they get
Okay.
older. So.
Very, very interesting, Pete. Let's go on to the 10 horse. I've got the number 10, Cheryl Spite. This horse is interesting. Excuse me. I always think it's a girl because it's Cheryl. But anyway, he's had a very interesting career. He's won 1.4 million. He's danced every dance. He's been in some very big races. He's won some good races. You can see he's mainly a miler. This is a mile and eighth, but if you go down further, he's run okay at the distance. Won a grade 3 at Tampa in 22, going mile 16th. I personally don't like him in this spot. I think he's lost a lot off the fastball. I don't think he's the same, but he does have a lot of back class. Another interesting horse you can use underneath. Two other quick horses to talk about. Pete, number 11 main event, who on paper will have the lead, but he's going to have to gun from the 11 hole with Javier.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting horse for that reason. But again, the post didn't do him any favors. It all depends on, I think, who breaks on the inside. If this horse can get a clean break, get a clean to the lead, I think he's got a shot to get on the lead and take them all the way around, which is his really only hope. He's only won races when he's basically gone wire to wire. So he has to get the lead. He has to clear, or he's probably going to be done. Horse for course, 3 for 4 wins, 4 for 4 in the top 2 at Gulfstream. 2 for 3 wins at the distance. His buyers have increased in he's set lifetime buyer tops, I should say, in his last 5 races. So he just keeps getting nothing huge, but he keeps getting incrementally better. Now we're talking 5-year-olds. George Weaver, 0 for 11 in grade 1 turf races. That's the only thing. Not that huge of a sample size, but I think anytime you can get a horse on the lead, you never know what's going to happen.
Yep. Last one is Catnip for Michael Stidham, a trainer I have a lot of respect for, Paul. Another 15-1 interesting horse in this race, at least in my opinion. Your thoughts?
I like Stidham. Obviously, this is a difficult post position. However, you'd have to think that from out here that Frankie's just going to kind of take back, try to get him over, save ground, and then, hopefully find that seam on the far turn that he seems to find with increasing regularity. But this is certainly a horse I'd be using on the board, Howard. Again, I think it is a tough post. He has not won at the grade 1 level. He ran a decent second in the United Nations, which did not come up that strong this year. But, you could do worse than Dettori at 15-1.
For sure. Let me show everyone the pace projector by time form, guys, and then we will talk about our picks. So on the screen, if you're not familiar, on the top right there in green, the start of the race is on the left. So the furthest right is who time form has. They have the number 11 main event on the lead with a Tone, the 1, and Jury the Nipper right off. They have it as a moderate pace, not fast, not slow. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and put our picks on the bottom of the screen for the Pegasus Turf. And you can see myself and Pete is going with the progressive 4-year-old for Shug Integration. Paul, you are going to go with Warm Heart. Just quick thoughts, overall thoughts on this race, Paul, first, and then I'll go to Pete and I'll end the show.
Well, I think if you're playing the race individually, you're probably supposed to try to beat one of them, and maybe try to hit the exacta or the try without the other one for the purposes of these. I doubt I would be playing this exacta this way, but, I was thinking like that, Howard. I was looking for a way to maybe try to leave Integration out, but as I said, the horse has done nothing wrong, and it's Shug, and the horse is getting better, and you get Tyler, so I chalked out here, but ever since he's come on the HHH podcast, Aidan O'Brien's been unstoppable. So I'm just going with him.
I hear you. Pete, Integration, you're going with the upset, although I have a strong opinion on how the odds are going to fare out come post time, which I'll mention in a minute. But Integration is your top choice here in the Pegasus Turf, Pete.
Yeah, I'm looking more for, it feels like most of the other horses, even Warm Heart, we sort of know who they are for the most part, whereas Integration, we might just be scratching the surface, and this horse could be anything. Could be and in a card that we're talking about, Pegasus, where, like we talked about, big fields, a lot of horses, it's devoid of superstars. This could be one. If he shows out here, and if he runs the way he's run in his first 3, and can do that here and can move forward again as a 4-year-old, I mean, this horse could be like a this could be like what we think of as like a Chad Brown champion type turf horse, or coming off like up to the mark, one of those kind of horses.
I cannot emphasize enough, everyone who's watching and listening, to make sure you watch our preview Pick 5 show that's going to be on Thursday night with Jason Blewett, because he's going to have inside intel, guys, that we do not have. He's been down at Payson. He lives in Florida. He's been watching this horse train. So we're going to get some great insight on integration. Guys, this is a very strong opinion of mine, right or wrong. I love integration on Saturday to upset Warm Heart. I have a ton of respect for Warm Heart. I think that Aiden's horses are better in the summer. They don't usually win as much in the winter. You check out his numbers in that situation. He's been traveling all over the world. I'm sure he's ready. He's also shortening, she is also shortening up Warm Heart. I don't know if 1 1/8 is best for her. She's got tight turns at Gulfstream on a very, very firm course. It's been very warm and dry there this week, guys, for the first time in a while. I think this is integration's time. I'm going with integration over Warm Heart. I've got Catnip in third, guys. I think Catnip is interesting, Paul. If Tori can be aggressive and sit right off a main event, maybe get first run on the closers, don't sleep on Catnip. Catnip to me is interesting. Maybe not on the win end, but as a bigger price underneath. I'm against the closers in this race, guys. In general, I don't think it sets up for them. That's our thoughts on the Pegasus Turf. We also will have a short video on YouTube about the Pegasus itself, which is a $3 million race, and of course plenty other videos on right here on our YouTube channel. Please make sure you check that out. For my co-host Pete Visco and Paul Howland, this has been Howard Kravitz. Crush your bets in the Pegasus Turf this Saturday. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.